You're listening to Rewilding Humanity, the podcast for those who've walked through the fire and came back with medicine. I'm Krysta, artist, plant alchemist, and a woman initiated by illness, grief, and spirit. Here, we rise from collapse, reclaim our wild, and remember who the hell we are. Let's get into it. I'm so glad that we connected.
Yeah.
We just connected on Instagram, and I took a look at some of your content, your website, and I was like, oh, this woman's been through some shit. I want to touch her. Yeah.
Got that in common. I know, and same. Like it was through Sarah that I discovered you, and I'm not much, especially like the last few weeks. I'm just like, no, like just real life, what's happening here right now. That's all I kind of, where I'm focusing. But I have, just hearing a bit about you. And then I was listening to your podcast with Miguel, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so much, zing, 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 so much resonance. So I'm excited to have this conversation today and learn more about you.
Well, let's get started. Let's do a background. Tell me about how you got to doing what you're doing today.
Yeah. Okay. I'll give you a bit of a professional background because it gives some context, and by no means am I attached to these identities. And this is something we'll probably talk about, dropping identities. But so professionally speaking, I was a registered nurse, and I worked as a registered nurse for 16 years. And I felt called to the profession because I had such a strong desire to help. At 6 years old, I was in my backyard kissing dead birds while the maggots were crawling out of their eyes. Like I was just like, I'm like, oh, the bird. Like I could just feel the pain of the bird, right?
Aww.
I wanted to revive the bird. And so this was like a very dominant theme in my life and in my personality growing up, that I just had such a strong desire to care. My mom was also a registered nurse, so she was strongly encouraging the profession and the security and all the rest. And so I followed in those footsteps and became a registered nurse. And I was a registered nurse. I went to school in Quebec, and the education system is a little bit different there. And so I became a registered nurse by the time I was 20. And I was like, okay, this is like, oh, all right. Yeah. So I was like, okay, this is great. And I don't think this is the career I'm going to be doing until I retire. I wasn't, at the time, I wouldn't say I was connected to intuition or anything like that. But in hindsight, I can look back and I can now understand that I was being nudged, like that this was not my forever job. I stayed in the profession for a while, and I started to experience what I now understand as burnout. And I was starting to feel depressed. I was starting to not really want to get up and go to work. I was feeling like I couldn't do the things that I wanted to do. I couldn't care in the way I wanted to care. I felt so many like red tape restrictions around the way I wanted to care for people. There was a lot of misalignment around how people were being cared for, that just morally, it just really didn't sit well with me. And then as the body does, it follows. Mind and body are connected. So this experience of burnout manifested in my body. And so I was having like workplace injuries, and like, it was just, my body was kind of wearing down in the job. And so I was like, okay, all right, I think it's time to pivot. So I dabbled in psychiatric nursing a little bit, because that was the part of nursing care that I really thrived and loved, like, is the emotional connection. And in the way that I was working as a nurse, I worked mostly in neuroscience. And so like head trauma, brain injuries, cancer, stuff like that. And so often patients were unresponsive. And so I wanted to support people emotionally. So I dabbled in psychiatric nursing and learned that was not the place for me. And maybe we'll go more into that, or maybe not. But I knew that like that environment, I'm like, I definitely don't align with how people are being cared for here either. And so then I pivoted and went and did my master's in counseling psychology and became a psychotherapist, which I've been doing that now for 17 years. Overlap the two for a little while because I'm not, however old that would make me. I overlap the two for a little while. And then the last few years, because of my own awakening, which I think is probably where we'll focus today, is it kind of defies a title. I don't even know what to call myself anymore. The title almost doesn't really matter, but I'm calling myself a reconnection guide. I'm supporting people holistically. So not just with body, nervous system, not just with psychotherapy, but a really holistic approach to reconnecting with their authentic selves, repairing the disconnection that so many people experience at the physical level, emotional level, and spiritual level. And so that's who I am today. I don't really know what to call myself. I'm calling myself a reconnection guide. What does that even mean? But there's there's the backstory of what that means. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank
Yeah.
you for that.
Yeah.
Now, I know that kind of through this process, you ended up with some dark night of the soul experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah. Should we dive into
Yeah.
that?
Sure. Let's dive in. Yeah. Growing up, partly because I was kissing dead birds with maggots coming out of their eyes. Like I felt like I felt different. Like so many people, like sensitive people do, right? Feel different. I don't super attach to labels, but I do resonate with the label of hypersensitive, hypersensitive person or highly sensitive person, empath, those, yeah,
Yep.
that rings true. Yeah. And I'm sure it does for you too. And so for someone who is a sensitive soul, this world can be pretty hard, can be pretty cold. And I recognize the hard and the cold as our conditioned ways of adapting, and in many ways I became hardened and cold because the world told me to, is what I heard. But I felt like I didn't quite fit in this world and in my family. I have 3 older brothers, and I would say they're not super connected to their emotions. And so I was always the odd one out. Like they were very intellectual and in logic and in science. And I go like this with my hand, like cutting off the head from the body, cutting off the head from the heart. Like it was like this. And so I grew up in this environment in my family and, well, I'd say the world at large, of this kind of like this like disconnection between the head and the heart, between like logic and intuition. And so I felt like I didn't belong. I felt disconnected. And then I was having experiences in my body from as long as I can remember. And I mean, it's the only body I'd ever had. So I didn't know that the experiences I was having were maybe not what everyone else was feeling in their body, but it was some of them to the point of like quite uncomfortable, like really lots of stuff going on. And when I would voice this to family or healthcare professional, I was usually told, it's not a big deal. It's not happening. They never said as far as making it up, but that's kind of the message I got.
Was it like
and in
pain or like?
It was pain. Yeah, it was pain. It was, yeah, I'd say dominantly pain. And I even don't use that word so much anymore now, but I'll say more about that after. But yeah, it was dominantly pain and just like weird and wacky, like digestion stuff. And like I tripped a lot and just my body, I would get colds a lot. Like I seemed to miss school a lot. When I was 9 years old, I had my tonsils out. So pretty routine surgery. I now have more appreciation for what the meaning of the tonsils. But anyways, at the time, tonsils out. And a week later, I hemorrhaged. And so this was not a common experience. Yeah, a week later, I start hemorrhaging, and I was hemorrhaging overnight and swallowing the blood. And so I woke up vomiting. Yeah, it was pretty awful. Tell me if it gets too graphic, because I'm a nurse, so none of this stuff is too graphic for me.
Never too graphic.
Okay. So, and so, yeah, vomiting up blood. And then my mom, who was a nurse and happened to be working night shift, woke up to go to work and found me in the bathroom vomiting up blood and took me to the hospital. And at this point, I was I don't know if I was actually unconscious, but I was definitely passed out. Like I was limp in her arms as she's carrying me into emerge. And I have a really vague memory of that. And then getting onto the treatment table, they were waiting for the OR to open because it was a local hospital, not a 24/7 hospital with an OR open. And so they were waiting for the OR to open. And I remember lying on the table, on the cold steel table, and they were packing my throat to try to stop the bleeding. And they were reaching way down there, right? With this awful tasting stuff. Yeah. And what I experienced, and this is something I'm only really coming to articulate in the last few years that I've given myself permission to feel into the truth of this. I had this experience where I was not in my body. It was an out of body experience. And I'm still, again, I'm still understanding it. I would even call it a near-death experience because I was watching this happen. I was up above watching them packing my throat, trying to get veins in my arms. They were having a hard time finding a vein because they'd started collapsing from the blood loss. And I just remember watching them poking needles in my ankles and like wherever they could try to get something, get a vein. And I was watching this, and it just, the experience was so blissful. Like I wasn't actually feeling what they were doing. I was watching it, and like the light, like it's the story, it's the NDE story of the light and the voices and the like, and I experienced that.
Oh, wow.
And it was, and I could hear a voice saying, oh gosh, I just got chills again. I could hear a voice saying, it's not time. It's not time. And I recognized it as my Nana's voice. And she died before I was 2, so I didn't know her that well, but I've always been told that I'm so much like her. Like I'm like, I'm so much like her in personality and appearance. I'm so much like my Nana. And when I was born, she was so thrilled to have a granddaughter after 3 grandsons, and like, and she gave me my middle name, Joy. And so that, hearing her voice, I was just like, okay, yeah, it's not time. And so then I went back into my body, and the next thing I know, I'm waking up after surgery, and they've packed the bleeding, and like the bleeding has stopped, and then I go on to live my 90-year-old life, which I couldn't really make sense about any of this. And in my family, this was not talked about. Like this, we had no religion. We didn't practice any religion. Spirituality was kind of, it's such a foreign thing. Again, very kind of logic, head-based scientific family. And so this was not something that was talked about.
Did you tell your parents? Like,
no, because I didn't even know how to, like, because it's not like I was watching shows and heard about NDEs. Like I didn't even have the language for it.
Yeah.
I just thought I just couldn't make sense of it. And I knew that I'd be ridiculed if I tried to talk about it, because whenever I tried to talk about anything, air quote, woo-woo, with my family, I was the laughing joke of the family. Yeah, I was yeah. So I just didn't even, I just didn't go any deeper with it. I'm like, okay, I guess it was a dream. I don't know. I was 9. I wasn't really trying to really deeply understand what had happened. And my eldest brother is an atheist. And so like the thought of God, and I really kind of looked up to him. And so it was just like, there was no way to scientifically understand this. So just don't talk about it. So I had this, there's an example of like, I had these lots of experiences growing up where I learned I had to disconnect. I had to disconnect from my hypersensitive emotions, like, hypersensitive. I was too sensitive. So disconnect from my emotions, disconnect from these spiritual, let's say paranormal experiences. No, definitely don't talk about that. So cut that off. And the sensations I was experiencing in my body, no, they're not happening. They're not a big deal, or you're faking it because dad is limping. And so now you're limping too, right? So it's just like, oh, okay, that's not real either. Disconnect, disconnect, disconnect. So I lived this life of disconnection, which, that's my own unique story of how I became disconnected, but I see it in society of how so many in their own unique ways have become disconnected. Disconnected from the truth of who they are. And so I lived this life, did the careers, did the marriage and the picket fence, and like lived the life that I'm like, okay, this is what I do in this life. But my body kept, the messages kept coming. The messages kept coming. And I call them messages rather than symptoms, because and maybe we'll talk about this more, but to kind of depathologize, like it wasn't wrong what my body was experiencing. It was a message. So the messages I was getting from my body is like, there's something not right here. You're living out of alignment. There's something not right. And so body speaks to us when we're not living aligned to our authentic self. And so I was diagnosed with all sorts of things along this path, and, physical, emotional, mental conditions, the whole gamut. I was diagnosed with depression and generalized anxiety disorder. Yeah. And I'm sure you can relate to this, and your listeners, when we're having so much when we're experiencing disconnection, we're feeling this misalignment, it's often labeled as depression. And with depression often comes suicidal thoughts. And, so this is definitely something I experienced. And I didn't, because I was well, I was a nurse at 20, right? So I was, I had been experiencing, depression, low mood, and suicidal thoughts like in my 20s. And I was also a nurse. So I also knew if I went to the system, how they would treat that.
Yeah.
And so I was quiet about it. Just because I don't know if I really want to share this because I know how it's going to be treated. And I don't know if I knew that this was not my path. And I was prescribed, lots of different meds, and I'd take them for a few weeks and I'd have all the side effects because those who are sensitive often do have all the side effects. So I had all the side effects and really no benefit. And I was like, no, this is not my path. This is not my path. So I experienced quite a bit of psychological, emotional, what I now recognize as spiritual distress in my 20s. And then the experiences in my body kept accumulating. Just to rewind a little bit, when I was 12, I fell off my bike, which triggered a slip in my hip, like the growth plate slipped off, which that on its own is a rare condition. But I was told that I might never walk again.
Oh my God.
I was non-waving. Yeah, so I was non-waving. So I'd had all these weird, like really strange, different experiences in my body. And so I had, a diagnosis of osteoarthritis by the time I was 18. And so lots of different diagnostic labels accumulated over the years. And then, fast forward back to I'm in my marriage and I'm now working I'm transitioning from nursing to psychotherapy. And starting to then I have kids, I have young kids, and my body was just reaching such a state of depletion, like to the point of like having a hard time getting out of bed. Nap when the baby naps, like I was napping more than the baby was napping. Like I was so energetically depleted in my body. And then I kind of like stumbled through, their preschool years of being really energetically depleted. And then my son started kindergarten, and I was looking at him and he was experiencing a lot of the same things that I had been experiencing. And I was trying to figure it out. Like he was fatigued, he was floppy, he was, just some really vague symptoms. But there was I was like, I don't know how he's going to get through a day of kindergarten without napping. Like, I don't know how he's going to do this. And so long story short, I was looking at him and kind of put my nursing hat on. I couldn't make sense of what it was he was experiencing. But then I was like, well, whatever it is he's experiencing, point the finger back at me. I'm likely experiencing the same thing. Parallel paths. He and I were both investigated, and pretty much at the same time, we were both diagnosed with a rare genetic connective tissue disorder called Ehlers Danlos Syndrome. Have you heard of it?
No, I haven't.
Yeah. Okay, it's getting more talked about these days. It's either occurring more or being recognized and diagnosed more. So I think at some point it won't actually be rare. I think it's just rarely diagnosed because, as you know, right, when we have these nervous system kind of like autoimmune type issues, especially as women, they can just the experience of being gaslit and like all the misdiagnosis, right. Yeah. So people with this diagnosis of EDS are often diagnosed with everything else under the sun before getting this, if they ever do get this diagnosis. And so I didn't know very much about it, even though I had been a nurse. I didn't know anything about it, but all the dots started to connect. And this is one of the moments that catalyzed my awakening. And I wouldn't have used those terms at that time. I didn't know what the heck was happening, but just like that, knowing that I had a disorder of connection, a disorder of connection, like my DNA was giving me the message, like I had a disorder of connection. So it's like, I have to reconnect. Like I just got this like message in my brain from wherever, I call it downloads. I don't know what to call it anymore, but I got this message that I had to reconnect with those emotions that I had cut off, with that intuition that I'd cut off, and with all the sensations in my body that I'd cut off. And so this, followed shortly by my father's death, is what catalyzed this dark night of the soul. To kind of go back to where you jumped in here. Yeah, that dark night of the soul experience. I was recognizing how I had constructed this life to be what I thought everyone else expected. This ego, I go like this kind of like this scaffolding of this building, this idea, all these various identities that I had adopted to survive in the world. And this is so human. Like, this is what we do. We come into the world like pure essence, and then we create these ways of adapting to our environment, to our world. And they're not necessarily who we are. So with this diagnosis and my dad's death, recognizing like this life is short. Like I don't know how long this life is going to be. And I don't know how this body is going to continue in this life. Cause at this point, I'm still pretty close to bedbound. Like, I'm like, I don't know how this body is going to continue in this life. And so that's when everything started to unravel. That's when everything started to unravel. Just like, I don't know how to continue living this life as I am because I can't. Oh, I can't. I can't. Who I am has died. Who I am has died. And this is what I passionately believe is where, suicidal thoughts will often enter, is that when former versions of self that were created very adaptively collapse, then it's like, I'm dying. Because there is a part that's dying. There is. And it is ultimately for our evolution, right?
Yeah.
But it's very scary. It's very scary when we feel we're dying, because we are. And it's not talked about much. It's not talked about, and it's pathologized. So you're crazy. Like if you have thoughts of ending your life, then we're gonna, be very paternalistic about that and protect you from yourself. And there's a place and a time for that sometimes. And there's also so much life force in this collapse. Like there's so many gifts that we can find in this dark place. And I know you know this too. There's so many gifts we can find in this dark place that I think we as a society, maybe if we inhibit people from going to that dark place, we don't give them the opportunity to really deepen into that wisdom. Yeah. So I'll pause there. Yeah.
Hi, friends. I've got something exciting for you. Rewilding Humanity Unfiltered is now on Patreon with a 7-day free trial. This is a portal where you'll get bonus episodes, behind-the-scenes updates, early access to new content, and a private community where we go deeper into the conversations from the show. Supporting the show is like buying me one latte a month, and it makes such a big difference in keeping this work alive and growing. So if the podcast has been meaningful to you, I'd love for you to try it out. Just hit the link in the show notes to start your free 7-day trial today. I can't wait to see you there.
Oh, well, thank you for sharing all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely see myself in a lot of your experience. And yeah, I struggled with my tonsils for years.
Okay.
Yeah, for a really, really long time, and had a very traumatic surgery. Oh my God, I didn't bleed out or anything, but they had cauterized and burnt the entire side of my tongue. And I was on like heavy pain.
I could just smell it. Yeah.
It was just, it was absolutely horrifying. Medical trauma is no joke. And it's interesting because one of the somatic practitioners that I worked with during my recent situation, she really comes from that lens of when you are put under, and like even having like a near-death experience, when you have a medical procedure and you're put under, like you're basically dead in a sense, right?
Yep.
And that creates a lot of trauma in the body, right?
Yep.
Like I started having panic attacks after a surgery. Oh gosh, what was it for? I've had a few of them. Yeah, I can't remember which one it was, but it was like a day or two after. And that's when my panic attacks started. And I had no idea at the time. I was 16, but I basically like just didn't leave the house for like a year. Like I'd go to school and stuff. But like I had no idea. Back then, nobody really knew what that was. It wasn't super common. Yeah. I completely understand that. And it's really interesting how your condition mirrors so much about the suppression that was happening in life. Do you think it's always like that for people, where there's like a very um, I don't know, because like once you realize, like in your case, you have the connective issue and then the connective tissue issue.
Yeah, the issues in the tissues. Yeah.
And I'm just
Yeah.
wondering, because like for myself, like I have a condition called Conn syndrome, and
Mm,
my adrenal glands produce an excess of aldosterone,
yeah.
which just wreaks havoc on my body. And I'm
Yeah.
only coming to understand this fully in like the past few months here. It's something that I've
Mm-hmm.
had, it's been misdiagnosed, not even diagnosed for
Mm,
years. And this is very common for a lot of people who have this. But now I'm understanding that, oh, it wreaks havoc on your kidneys, your entire endocrine system,
yep.
your inflammation, my metabolism, like everything.
Yes. Yes.
And I'm wondering, I'm like, what? I wonder what that connection is, right?
Yeah. Like, what's the
Adrenals.
deeper meaning?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's like
Yeah.
fight or
Yeah.
flight and
Yep.
survival and all of that sort of thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where are you at with your condition now? Like, were you able to do healing work that helps
Yeah.
support that, or do you have to do like a functional approach?
Yeah. When I received the diagnosis, I was like, yes. I
Mm.
felt vindicated, right? Because after
Yeah.
years of being
Yeah.
told that, and like, and some pretty significant medical experiences throughout my life,
Yeah.
then, but still being told like, not a big deal. And then all the dots connected. I was like, oh my gosh, like, I was just kind of like, I told you so. I told you so. I'm not making this up.
Yeah.
There's something really happening because connective tissue is in every single system of the body.
Mm-hmm.
And so this explained why I had experiences, symptoms in every single system of the body. And the dominant symptoms are pain and fatigue. And so, yeah, so it all like I felt so vindicated that the dots were all connecting. I wasn't making it up. There was something very real happening in my body. And then I latched on to that label for a while. I have EDS. I have EDS. I was really like, because I was afraid, I mean, I had worked my whole life for the diagnosis. I was like, I am holding this tightly. Because it explained a lot, it really validated me, vindicated. Yeah. So, I mean, I held on to it so tightly that like I tattooed a zebra on my wrist. That's a symbol of rare disease, which EDS has kind of adopted the zebra. So I was like very much like, yes, this is my identity. And I did, I was like, I was the board, I was the chair of the foundation, Rare Disease Foundation. Like I was like deep diving into the world of rare disease. Yeah. And did a lot of advocacy work and like very much attached to the identity. But then I was starting to recognize how holding it so tightly wasn't actually serving me.
Mm-hmm.
For one, there's no treatment. That's what we are told for EDS. There's really like, there's obviously no cure. DNA level, the map of the collagen is different. So no cure. And it's just symptom by symptom treatment. And because it's in every system, takes a lot of legwork.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, this doesn't sound good. This doesn't sound very hopeful. And there was a time that I was told that with this diagnosis, and I was also diagnosed with fibromyalgia and a few other nervous system type, IBS, TMJ, like I just got the whole gamut of diagnostic labels. I was told I was permanently disabled and that I'd never work again. And I was like, I'm not taking that on. I'm not integrating that. That's where I stopped. Like thank you for the labels, and that has served me. And now that does not serve me to buy into that belief that I am permanently disabled. So around that time, I had read Bruce Lipton's Biology of Belief. And yeah. And given, my experience as a psychotherapist and all the things I had done deep dive on mind-body connections, and I had a pretty good understanding that my beliefs can create my physical reality.
Yeah.
And so that's when I started to distance myself from that paradigm of healing, from Western medicine, from what they were telling me that I will never work again. I was like, no, I'm not taking that on. I'm going my own route. And that's when I started to heal, let's say, more holistically, and also in a way that honors the wisdom of the body. And this is something I'm also really passionate about. And this is one of the reasons I don't call the experiences of my body symptoms, because for me, the word symptom sounds really pathological, like there's something wrong. It's doing something wrong. So I call them messages, because it's just letting me know how it needs to be taken care of, And so there's so much fear I see on both sides, on all sides, both as a practitioner in healthcare and as a recipient of healthcare, I see how much fear there is in the system.
Mm-hmm.
And we know, right, when we're in a state of fear, that actually dials up the symptoms in our body. When we're in that sympathetic state, it makes them worse. So it's like, oh wow, isn't this interesting how the industry is propagating fear, which actually the symptoms then perseverate, and there's more to treat. So I started to see this differently. I was like, I am not going to approach my body with fear. I'm going to approach it with gratitude, reverence, compassion. And when I get a symptom, I'm going to lean into it and say, body, what is it that you're trying to tell me? What is it that you're trying to tell me? I'm not going to numb it and blunt it and cut it off. And I'm going to really lean into the wisdom of my body and kind of normalize it. People will ask me kind of like, what's your treatment plan? Or what do you, I mean, there are lots of different things. I drink salt to get my blood pressure up. I'm mindful of when I shower, that I have enough energy, or, I have to time showers, because I have just my energy is a bit different. And so there's so much that I do in a day to integrate the way my body is into my life, but I don't pathologize it. I've just really integrated it into my life to the point where I don't really experience symptoms. It's just, I just know what I need to do to take care of my body.
Mm-hmm.
So and then I think, sometimes I'll gaslight myself. I'm like, oh, well, you're just not that bad. You're just not that sick. You're just not that. But then I'll have a moment, where, my life is exceeding the capacity of my body, and all that stuff comes back up again. I'm like, oh, right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That is still the truth of my body. That
was literally me yesterday. Like,
right?
So frustrating, because I was feeling really, really good for a couple of weeks, and I went for a hike, and then I couldn't function. Right.
Oh,
and
man.
It's so fucking frustrating, because
it is so frustrating.
Oh, and I'm like, I don't know what it is. Is it my nervous system? Is it the adrenal stuff? Is it like,
I know.
And you just want to do what like regular people do. And it's,
Oh man, Krysta, I feel you.
Mm-hmm.
I feel you. In my work as a therapist, I support people with complex chronic illness.
Mm-hmm.
And so in my own experience and in those I support, I like the grief. It's just like, it's ongoing. It's ongoing because of the unpredictability.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like one moment I can climb the mountain, the next day I can't.
Yeah.
And I experience that in my body too. And it's like the pendulum swing isn't quite as wild as it used to be. Like it's more subtle.
Yeah.
But like last week, I'm in the middle of a move, and body was just like, no, you're not.
Mm.
No, you're not. You're gonna lie down. You're gonna, there was a time, when my kids were younger, that I would need to pull up a chair in the kitchen to cook meals because I couldn't stand. And that's the point I was at last week again. I'm like, shit.
Yeah.
Here I am again. And so, right, the grief that comes up with that, I feel you. And so for me, so much of this journey has been about acknowledging the grief, being there with the grief, honoring the grief, bringing more compassion, because, if we,
and it's kind of
if I resist the grief, then it's just going to make it worse.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's really, I mean, I think there's a big part of, because there's a huge, huge rise in chronic illness worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of that, I think, has to do with just our society. Could be like chemicals, the industrial food complex,
so much
epigenetics. There's so much, but basically we're all feeling it right now.
Yeah.
But we're still trying to operate in a hypermasculine, hyper-productive paradigm that these bodies cannot cope with. I mean, especially for women, like we shouldn't even be operating in those ways necessarily. And people are just breaking down.
Yeah.
And honestly, like these messages that our bodies are giving us, like, is it frustrating that I can't go on a 5-kilometer hike without dying for 2 days afterwards? Yeah. because I know that exercise is healthy
Yeah.
and being in nature is great and I want to be doing these things.
Yeah.
But learning how to operate in your body in a way that works for you, because I had 2 weeks of really, really, really good, right? And this is my body being like, no, we're not there yet. And, maybe we will be. There's some new protocols that I'm going to be doing that give me a lot of hope that I think might be supportive. And this is where like a functional thing comes into play, because we really have to do what we can in order to feel better and function. But in no way am I interested in going back to how I was before when I had a full fucking system collapse, because that was the grind, hustle, push, push, push. And I did that like, oh my God, my early 30s too. Like when I worked overseas, I worked for this company where the whole company was indoctrinated into that mindset and like
the grind and hustle.
Oh, he'd get on the stage. It was like, I basically worked at a fucking cult. And he'd get on stage every week and indoctrinate people and be like, if you're not an A player, like you can get the fuck out of this company and da 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 da. And it was like, it was insane.
Yeah.
And I remember like, because I did that job, but then I had another startup on top of that. And I remember working till like 2 a.m. and being so exhausted and like literally crawling to bed and then just like getting up the next day and doing it all again. But that was like
brutal.
It was glorified, right?
Yes, it was glorified.
Right? We glorified like how much we worked that week.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. And we're working against our bodies.
Yeah.
We're stuck in the mind, like collectively, right? I hear you, like we're in this very like production focused culture. It's like go, 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 grind, grind. I mean, it is starting to shift. I'm hopeful. I'm seeing a shift.
Yeah.
I have to tell you about something I created that's been changing people's lives. It's called Brainbow from Mindful Meds. I formulated it with a special saffron extract that has a ton of clinical evidence showing it's as effective as SSRIs for mood support, but without the side effects. The feedback has been insane. More calm, sharper thinking, deeper focus without jitters, and even restful sleep with resilient mornings. One person told us, I'm a machine on this Brainbow, and another said they were actually crying because their brain felt so clear. If you want to experience it for yourself, head to mindfulmeds.io and use the code WILDMIND for 15% off your first order. Details are also in the show notes.
Because so many bodies
can't do it anymore.
We can't do it.
Yeah.
And I think of those who, resonate with that highly sensitive empath, right? Those with nervous system dysregulation stuff probably have accumulated a few labels. I think of us as the canaries in the coal mine. What we are experiencing in our bodies isn't abnormal. Like it is what is not good for everybody, right? So we're letting the rest of society know we're just kind of like front runners, but our bodies are letting everyone know these things aren't good for us, the grind, the caffeine, the chemicals, like these things are not good for bodies. And sensitive body, for whatever reason, we were born into these more sensitive bodies. I know I have some of my own meaning around it, but our souls came into these sensitive bodies and we're canaries. We're telling everyone else these things are not good for human bodies. We're leading the charge. It's not just my body. It's not just your body. It's everybody.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about the path to reconnection.
Yeah.
Right. So you mentioned you work with people with chronic illness. And then of course on your own path, like clearly you're not disabled. That's an amazing win.
Yeah.
Let's unpack that a bit.
Yeah. I mean, so much of it has, for my own healing has been coming into loving reconnection with my body.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of all about the body. We're here in bodies. Like we wouldn't be able to experience this life if we didn't have a body. So it's coming into loving reconnection with my body. And so for me, compassion really is the bedrock of how we come back into loving reconnection with body. And so starting to untangle Well, untangle those beliefs, untangle those conditions. So like at the mind level, right? Like starting to recognize, oh, I adopted this title, I did this career path, or I, was in this relationship, or not because I really wanted to, but because, this is what I was told I had to do. So this is often the level that I will start working with those I support. It's like, let's talk about values, like what are yours, what are someone else's. Let's talk about emotions, and even just start labeling emotions. Like it can be that simple to start, because usually someone's become disconnected from their emotions, or they were told they were too much. So really starting to reconnect with the emotions, the emotional self, and differentiating self from family and from society.
Mm.
And then, and like, I mean, that's a whole kind of self in the world. And then reconnecting with sensations. So like body, and instead of the condition, make that go away. I don't want that to be there. Can we be with the sensation? Can we neutrally observe the sensation and not be reactive to it, and not make up a horror story, because that's often where we go.
Yeah.
Not make up a horror story about what this sensation means. And something that has really supported me on the reconnecting with emotions is the practice of Vipassana. And I actually just returned from Vipassana retreat, which is a 10-day silent retreat. And let me tell you, in 10 days of silence, lots of
Yeah.
and it's good so that it comes up to be cleared. But, so the practice of Vipassana is about being with sensations neutrally.
Mhm.
So can we be with the sensation, notice it for what it is? And then I like to add in, with compassion, not just neutral, but actually with compassion, and maybe even gratitude. Like, oh, thank you, body, for like making me dizzy. Thank you for feeling dizzy, because right, my blood pressure is low, and you're letting me know that I've got to drink salt, I've got to put my feet up, I've got to stop what I'm doing, whatever. Instead of saying, oh my gosh, I'm dizzy, what does that mean? Like, what is it, what does that, and what medication can I take, and whatever, like really compassionately and with gratitude leading in. So reconnecting with sensations.
And that's it, interoception.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And because we're so in our world, like, right, I don't know about you, but when I go out in the world, it's so easy to just go like out, like I not know what's happening inside anymore.
Yeah.
Right?
Or just ignore it, right? Like,
Just ignore it.
if you're feeling like shit, you're scrolling on your phone, or like you're just going on your day to day, and you're really thirsty or you're hungry, and you're ignoring those cues, and you're just pushing through stuff anyway.
We're so conditioned to do it. Like I think of like school, right? You got to put your hand up to go pee, but no, it's not the right time because you're in the middle of lesson. You got to like, seriously, this is not human.
Yeah.
This is not human, right?
Yeah.
So I think of all the ways we've been conditioned to disconnect from the sensations of our body. So yeah, reconnecting with sensations. And then reconnecting with soul, like starting to right? Once we start to clear away the ego self, the conditioned self, the who I thought I had to be acceptable, once we start to clear that away and get a clearer connection with who am I really, and then start to notice the signs, right? Notice the signs. And, universe is always speaking to us. Universe has definitely spoken to me on this path, and getting divine messages and like seeing things. And in the past, I'd like see a eagle and not think anything of it. But now I'm like, oh, there's a message there, right? Mm-hmm. And so reconnecting with soul self and with universe, with intuition. Yeah. So those are kind of like the three prongs of reconnecting. That's just how just for the mind likes to have some sort of structure. So that's how my mind has structured it. It's like, oh, connect with emotions, connect with sensations, and connect with soul and universe. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I love that. It's interesting, the spiritual aspect of it. I don't know why I do this, but like every time I go through like a really, really dark night of the soul, I disconnect from that part in a sense, because I get mad and I'm like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Soul, spirit guides, whatever. Like, you did this to me, or I know this was part of the plan or whatever, but like, fuck you.
Yeah, fuck you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting that like I have to get into a place of like more balance in order to like kind of come into that communion again, because it's hard, right? And
Oh,
sometimes
man.
like that
Yeah.
is the work, is like just
Yeah.
losing absolutely everything and being
Oh,
so confused and
gosh, yes.
wanting to fucking off yourself.
Yeah,
You know, like
I
just
know.
getting to that really, really dark place.
Yeah.
I don't know. For me, like it's always there in the back of my mind though, and then, like I
Mm-hmm.
always do reach for the spiritual, but it just
Mm-hmm.
it feels like punishment
Mm. Oh
sometimes.
man, I so hear you. Yeah. And how I've come to understand that in myself, like that fuck you universe soul, like how I've come to understand that in myself and what I've observed in others is it's like it is that ego kind of like clinging on for dear life because
Mhm.
the ego has served, it really has. And I think the ego gets bad rap. It's like, there are books called Death to the Ego. And for me, it's like, or
Mhm.
kill the ego or whatever, fuck the ego,
Yeah.
but I'm like, no, ego, thank you. Like you
Yeah.
did a really good job. Gold star for you, ego. I know you were doing what you had to do to keep me safe, but actually now you're keeping me really small.
Mhm.
And so for me, when I'm in that place of like, yeah, the dark night and the ego is just, yeah, I'm not wanting to go into, what I know will support me spiritually. I'm not wanting to go into it. I know it's ego fearing its dissolution. Like it knows, and it's not multiple personality disorder. We have like different parts of self, right? Like,
Yeah.
and so it's like ego self knowing that we don't really need it to support us in that way anymore. So for me, it's like, how can I support ego with that ego, that part of self, how can I support it with feeling safe as I evolve away from that,
Mhm.
away from that identity, away from that behavior and pattern. Yeah. 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 But it's like rallying ego's like, don't, no, you needed me. Don't let go of me. I mean, I need to be here.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, we're getting close to the end of our time here,
Yeah,
but
I know. Yeah. Yeah.
I wanted to bring up, I was looking on your website and I
Hmm.
saw an offer around, was it unmasking?
The masks we wear.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
that's really cool. I want to talk to you a
Yeah.
little bit about that because I something's percolating
Yeah.
for a retreat that I want to do.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
I've been making these art pieces. I have one
Wow. That is so beautiful. Oh my
right.
gosh.
So this is a wolf,
You
and I feel
did you
like,
paint that? Did you paint that?
yeah, so there's paint and Wild Forge botanicals
Wow.
that
Wow.
I had here. But it's also like
Yeah.
I feel like it's a mask, right?
Yeah.
And this is
Yeah.
something that I want to incorporate
Mm.
into this retreat. And
Mm. Mm.
I'm interested about like this
Oh, I love
this
that. Mm.
ceremonial work that you do.
Yeah.
Because yeah, I'm not sure what that looks like yet, but I want to bring that
Oh,
into the retreat.
oh, oh, I'm just like, I'm buzzing. Yeah, I love that. And so the mask we wear, it's a workshop that I run and it's a 2-hour workshop. So it's not a full deep dive. I mean, I do go deep, but it's not a full deep. It's just kind of a snapshot of the bigger program that I run called Beneath the Surface, Excavating Your Authentic Self, which is an 8-week program. So the mask we wear in that 2-hour process, I guide participants through exploring, yeah, like just like we've talked about those parts of self that we created to be accepted. And those are the parts of self that will show the world, that mask, like will show, oh, I'm this thing. Whenever I'm a nurse or I'm whatever. It's like, we're like, oh, society likes this, accepts this. So this is the mask I will show. And so we have different ones, right? But what's really happening beneath the surface? Like what is the truth of who we are? Like, is that mask actually who we are, or is it hiding something else? Is it showing something that we think is more acceptable? So I guide them through psychologic somatic experience to explore those different layers of self, the ones that we show and the ones that we hide. And that's at the conscious level. And then even at the unconscious level, I guide them. I never know exactly where it's going to go, but my meandering will often get them into the kind of like that unconscious place of like, oh, wow, I didn't even know that was there. So it's like, I knew that was there. That's what I'm showing the world. I knew that was there, but I'm not showing the world. And oh, there's stuff there that I didn't even know was there that I wasn't even showing myself. So I guide them through this process of digging into the depths and unearthing parts of themselves that they didn't even know that were there. And so they come away with a greater appreciation And maybe they'll still wear those masks, and that's okay, right? Like that, we put these masks on for a sense of safety. And if they haven't yet adapted other ways of feeling safe without that mask, okay, like maybe that's the level where we work, is finding other ways to feel safe so you can drop the mask. Because we just strip it off right away. It's like, whoa, I don't know how to be naked like this. Yeah. Yeah. But I love how that could weave into more of a ceremonial practice that you're feeling into.
Yeah. Right. Because it's almost like bringing out that part of you. So it's like we have all these different dynamics to self, right? And for me, like the wolf energy is very much, if you think about women who run with the wolves and like that book and the stories in there, and bringing that externally and being able to use art therapy to decorate something that then can become a totem and a reminder that is, used as an altar or whatever in your home. Like, I think that'd be really cool.
It's so cool. In the process that I guide, there is there is art, and actually one of my participants, I'm still in touch with her, and she shared with me that because she created this really beautiful image around the process, and she has it like front and center, so that she can reflect on it, and she just had so much, and it's like everyone has the wisdom in them. Really, I am not a guru. I'm not I don't even like it. The people that I support, I don't even really. Calling them clients even sounds weird to me. Like it's everyone has the wisdom in themselves. And if I can hold their hand and maybe ask some gentle questions that will help them excavate for themselves, then my mission is complete. Yeah. I'm not there to tell them the path or the solutions for their life, because I really don't know. I'm just there to maybe shine a light on, what they're already intuiting for themselves.
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah.
For anybody who's been listening and wants to learn more and connect with you, how can they do that?
Yeah. So through my website, which is alanajoynewton.com. And then I'm on Instagram. I have taken a little step back in the last month or so, but I'll be back. So that's Alana_Joy_Newton.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah.
And you have some new offerings and stuff coming up here soon, but I think, can people get on your email list or just follow you on Instagram?
Exactly. Yeah. I'm planning on launching another Beneath the Surface program in the new year. I'll get myself moved and grounded after relocating. But I'll look at running a Beneath the Surface program. And then leading into Beneath the Surface, I usually host the Mask We Wear to give people a sense of what it's like to share space with me. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again for coming on today and sharing your story.
Thanks for having me. And I appreciate you sharing your story and holding this space for others to share theirs as well. Because I know the stories that you're sharing here it can be life-changing, just for someone else to feel like, oh, like that deep, dark thought I had. I heard someone on Krysta's.
If this episode cracked you open, good. Share it far and wide so we can reach more people who are done pretending and ready to come home to themselves.
And remember, if you leave a review on Apple Podcasts or tap the stars on Spotify, you'll be entered into my monthly draw for a bottle of my medicinal herbal oil. It's my way of saying thank you for helping this work reach more people who need it the most. I'll announce winners right here on the show.
To dive deeper into my world, explore wildcrafted apothecary and sacred art at magicmaven.com. Discover new tools for nervous system healing at mindfulmeds.io, or bring your vision to life with me at the Brand Bruja. All the links and more are waiting for you in the show notes. Until next time, stay wild, stay rooted, and remember, you were made for this.
Podcasts talk about that, and so I'm not alone, and that is so much like we need that to just feel not alone in this journey. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'm really looking forward to catching up with you all on the next one.
If this episode cracked you open, good. Share it far and wide so we can reach more people who are done pretending and ready to come home to themselves.
And remember, if you leave a review on Apple Podcasts or tap the stars on Spotify, you'll be entered into my monthly draw for a bottle of my medicinal herbal oil. It's my way of saying thank you for helping this work reach more people who need it the most. I'll announce winners right here on the show.
To dive deeper into my world, explore wildcrafted apothecary and sacred art at magicmaven.com. Discover new tools for nervous system healing at mindfulmeds.io, or bring your vision to life with me at the Brand Bruja. All the links and more are waiting for you in the show notes. Until next time, stay wild, stay rooted, and remember, you were made for this.